Let's talk in this video about the brightness control with LDSperimetral system. Here the brightness control has two different scenarios. The first is if you have a Novastar sender, and which is the more concrete, and the general one is if you don't have a Novastar sender. So we have two kinds of brightness control system. One is general, is for any sender in the market, right? But we have some features that applies only to Novastar senders, right? So if you do not have a Novastar sender, you have two big features. First is that you are able to reduce the brightness perceived, and you can apply a tone correction in each video that you are playing, right? It applies to all senders, right? You are able to reduce the brightness per cabinet, right, individually, and you can apply a tone correction for each video that you are playing, right? This is the granularity. If you have a Novastar sender, then you can control the brightness completely at perimeter level. What does it mean? Is that you can pull up or pull down the amount of brightness that the LEDs are using, right, at the perimeter level, at all the perimeter. You also can control the balance for the color balance for each specific sequence. For example, if you have a sequence that you have a video from Coca-Cola, maybe you want to pull up the reds, right? You can do it. In the next sequence, maybe you want to pull up the greens and not the reds. You can do it, right? And you also can set default values of brightness and color value for all the perimeter system. This means that these default values will be stored in the cabinets, so that if the power goes off and then comes back again, the brightness and the color balance of the perimeter system will turn up with the values that you have set before, correct? So what do we have to do? If we are using a Novastar system, you have to install the drivers and the software from Novastar, right? Once it is working, turn the software off, right? Sometimes Novastar keeps running the Mars controller. You have to turn it off. That little star near the clock does not have to be there. If it is there, it will take the control of the sender and will not allow LDSperimetral to talk to the sender, right? So let's turn it off. Then connect the sender to the USB and configure LDSperimetral so that it can talk to the sender, right? Let's go to have a look, right? Here we have the configuration. Let's remember that here in the sender port we have to introduce the communication port. To do it, click on detect, start detection. Let's wait for a few seconds that the system and the system will be trying to connect to a Novastar sender in all ports. Here it has detected the sender in the port number 9. Let's apply this configuration. Here we will indicate what is the default color balance for our perimeter system, right? We will say that our default color balance will be 80% in all the channels, for example, right? Let's save it and let's turn on the brightness control area. Now only let's have a look to this area of here, right? Here we have the LED indicating that the connection with the perimeter is correct, the status OK. And here we have the controls that allows us to control directly the Novastar sender, right? We can turn the brightness up or down as we prefer. Now the brightness is changing really in the perimeter system, and we can change the control balance that is being used in all the perimeter system. We can play with it without any fear, don't worry. When you want to go back to the defaults, just click in the reset button. It will go to the 80% that we have defined in the configuration a few seconds ago. Here it is, right? So you can play without worrying about breaking the system configuration, right? When you are in a configuration that you think is a nice configuration to turn on the system, click the Save button. This configuration will be stored in all the cabinets, and when the system is powering up, it will go to this brightness and control balance configuration, right? So now let's have a look to this area. This area is representing each segment in a colored in a darker area, right? Each segment is represented here. You can see if you have 20 cabinets, you will have 20 little boxes with one number inside, right? Also, you will have a number that will represent which is this cabinet. For example, if I want to find the cabinet number 43, is very easy. It's this one, because this is the 40, 1, 2, and 3, right? So, this number, this cent, is the quantity of brightness that this cabinet is displaying, right? The cent percent of the brightness means that if the sender is providing 50%, for example, right? This is the cent percent of the 50%. It's to say, this is the control area of the general multi-sender control. As this area is designed for all the senders, it has to work without talking to the sender, correct? So all we can do is turn the brightness down, never up, correct? So we can select a group of cabinets and change its brightness, right? Let's turn some sequence playing, and let's have a look. For example, if I turn down the system, you can see clearly that the brightness of all these cabinets is going down, right? I can select all, clicking the button all. If I click again, it will inverse the selection. I can click concrete cabinets to be controlled, right? You can see the difference. If I double click in these buttons, it will remove all the selection. I can select the first, and with the shift key pressing in another one, I select all the segment and I can interact with all the segment. Or I can press the control key and move over the cabinets I want to select, and then change their corrections, right? Now let's leave it everyone at the same percent. So we can manage here the control brightness of the perimeter system. Let's go now to see specific corrections for specific sequences. Let's stop these by now. Let's open the sequence editions. Let's have a look to, for example, the combined sequence. I can set a specific color brightness if I have a Novastar sender, and for example I want the red channel to be at 100%, right? In this example I will not introduce any other change, right? Save it, and now pay attention to this area. First, in this sequence it has no information about a specific control, but now that the sequence is changing, look that the color, the channel, the red channel has gone up to the 100% that we have set in the sequence definition. After that sequence, the system will go to the default value, right, or to the value defined in the next sequence, right? This is optional. You don't need to set it, but you can, right? So here we have not seen any difference because we are recording the monitor, right? If you have a perimeter system, you would clearly see the difference, right? Let's go now to have a look to how can we control the brightness the brightness tone, right? The tone of the videos for a specific sequence and in specific files. First, let's remove the configuration specific for Nova, right? And now let's go and select the first video, for example, the world of pizza, right? And we will say that this video, I want a strong red correction, right? So I set it here, color balance for the file. This will apply to all the repetitions of this file, here, here, and here, correct? I set only the red color, right? But I can set the combination I want. Let's save. And now, like before, let's start in the previous sequence, and now we'll see that it's clear that is reddish, right? The world of pizza is reddish. If we look to this other sequence, we will see completely the difference, right? Specific control of the color for specific sequences, right? If you have a Novastar controller, the corrections that you can do are of higher quality, right? If you don't have a Novastar sender, don't worry, you can already use these other color corrections and brightness control defined in the processing video unit of LDSperimetral. I think that's all. I think I am not leaving, I am not forgetting anything to tell you about it. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.